contribution. I appreciate changing the sequence so that my daughter could be here. By the way, she was meeting with students at her job as a faculty member at the University of Puget Sound. And probably raced too fast down for you. I'm going to recommend that you not accept the retirement letters from those of us today. On the way in, the deans gave me a little alert that they really do need an American Studies program with faculty, taught by faculty with their cultural roots from 4 continents. And that ideally this faculty team would include a deep thinker about the meaning of life, a printmaker who teaches with his ears, eyes, and hands, a quirky mathematician, a dramatic scholar activist, and whatever I do. So what do I do, or what have I done for the last 37 years? 37 years, as it is with my colleague David, is 60% of my life, and 80% of my life since graduating from high school. That's a lot. So that's pretty scary also. So my children were born and raised here. They're with me, thank you. My wife, Carolyn Dobbs, has taught here with me for a similar number of years and held my hand when I needed it. Thank you. I've taught with many in this room. It was kind of hard to find faculty to nominate me for emeritus because all the ones I had taught with had already retired. So I think, though, I teach by learning. I think that's how I've taught here. And I teach by modeling how to live a fully engaged life, a life of praxis, a life of constant reflection, action, new reflection, new action, and bring that into increasingly large circles of on-campus and off-campus topics. So a year ago, I was honored to deliver the graduation address. But unfortunately, I had my back to the trustees. And I don't even know how many of you were there, actually, but I think there are quite a few new ones since last year's graduation. So I'd like to read now 2 of the paragraphs of that last year's commencement address that I wrote for our graduating students. And I do this for 2 reasons. One is I really wrote it for myself, too, and for my own graduation, which is happening today. It's really a self-evaluation of my values and my work that I had hoped, and a lot of my colleagues believe also, is what we try to enable our students to be able to do when they leave. So, for those that have heard it, maybe you'll enjoy hearing it again. For those that haven't, this is also for you, but it's also for me, as I think about my work. Graduates, so for me, when asked by your family and friends, what did you study at Evergreen? I hope that in addition to, or instead of, identifying the subjects and interdisciplinary areas of inquiry, skill building, and expression that you define as your major, that you consider the following response. I study the relationship of my heart and mind, my body and soul, to the world I was born into and the world I want to leave when I die. I did not have to struggle with these questions by myself, alone or in competition with others. I studied questions that made me look at myself, my relationships with others, with the land, with work, with the unknown, and with democracy. I studied these questions by examining the relationship between theory and practice, between ideology and reality, between knowledge and its ethical or unethical use. I examined the questions of who has the power to create and to control knowledge. I studied means that I participated in collective, collaborative, interdisciplinary inquiry, where I was not alone in having to figure out how to create a meaningful life in response to analyses of the power of the forces of the state and the market. I was responsible, but not alone, for discovering and or deepening a passion for my life work, whether or not that was always going to be coherent with my job or career. And I hope you might add, I not only studied, but I learned. I learned experientially, as well as intellectually, about the power, beauty, and necessity of hope, courage, curiosity, kindness, duty, commitment, leadership, dignity, imagination, reflection, compassion, hospitality, praxis, integrity, resilience, alchemy, synergy, sustainability, solidarity, responsibility, honor, and forgiveness. And I learned that these are not just abstract concepts. They are organic, locally grown ingredients for recipes of loving relationships with friends, the empowerment of neighbors we haven't yet introduced ourselves to, community building initiatives that include those who seem to be invisible or who are labeled as poor, illegal, or in need of services of dependency, the healing of the wounds we inflict upon the natural environment, and peace in our homes and in the world. I learned that it might be possible to live a life where I wear these principles in my heart and on my sleeve. I learned that it's okay, in fact necessary, to take risks in public. So, how can, if these are, or assuming these might be some of the values that all of us or many of us share for our students and for our lives here, how can some of what I represented be sustained into the future? A couple ideas for the trustees and the administration to consider. That we, or that you, we all model and facilitate, and not just tolerate, taking risks. That we facilitate taking risks. And that we trust our students and our faculty. There was a degree of trust that came from the administration when I was hired. I think, like David, I was 27 years old. I had no teaching experience. Unlike David, I didn't have a PhD. Why would you hire me? There was a risk taken. Still trying to figure it out. In fact, I think you took risks in hiring all of us, in this particular group of us. We were either very, very young, without a lot of experience. 4 of the 5 of us who were being honored did not have PhDs at the time we were hired. I don't think now it would be very likely that 4 out of 5 faculty would be hired without PhDs, who would be hired because of their teaching potential, more importantly perhaps than their degrees. So I think taking risks about who we bring is still a valid and important principle. The administration took a big risk supporting me and our students when, in my first year of teaching, we were helping the town of North Bonneville face the Corps of Engineers about the relocation and the actual disappearance of the town as the new powerhouse was being built along the Columbia River. And it was a group of a young faculty and a bunch of hippie students from Olympia, Washington, who came into the town and started showing the town that they had the power themselves to determine their future, and that they didn't have to rely upon the opinions of the attorneys or the engineers of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And in fact, after only 4 or 5 weeks of our engaging the town in the planning processes and the research and the validation of their own learning that they needed to sort of realize they had, that the town actually refused an offer by the Corps of Engineers to plan a new town because the town realized that they were already doing everything that the Corps offered to do, and they owned and were in control of the process. How quickly that power of potential and empowerment had been passed. Well, as you might suspect, with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers project, the governor, the president of the college at the time, and probably some of the trustees got calls from federal agencies in Washington, D.C., from senators and other people who felt that they had a lot of power, saying, what the heck are your students down there doing down there, obstructing our project to improve America's dependency on power?